Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Tonight, I believe it would be appropriate to say that our campus is entering into a new era of student engagement. A campus of students who enact change through campus involvement and a strong direct service for their organization. As a graduate student in my 6th year at CMU, I can recall a time when the voice of the student was not squandered for financial gain or graduate power. But then things began to change. The time came that student pride was but a memory. Apathy set in, and that the death knell for student virtue had all but rung. Soon, tuition rates rapidly rose, $251 to $304 to $339 to $358, yet programs continue to be cut. Programming continued to degrade. Where does it end? Well, tonight I want to present to you Mr. Kevin Richmond, Mr. Scott Cooke. These are the candidates who will restore the student voice and lead SGA to a much more fruitful future. The candidates will introduce themselves, speak their basic platform, and will proceed directly to question and answer. You'll have to raise your hand and be called upon, but we'll bring a microphone to you so that way you can be better heard amongst the candidates. Thank you, and enjoy your stay.
That was quite an introduction. As you heard, I'm Kevin Richmond.
I'm Scott Cooke.
You guys think we need the mics?
Absolutely.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
In any case, we thought we'd go have this, kind of give everyone the opportunity to talk to us if they had anything they wanted to say or anything they wanted to ask, and discuss our platform a little bit more just for a few minutes so people have a better idea of what we plan to do, what we hope to do, and what we will do. So I guess to get into it, we kind of have 3 main points within our platform. We wanted to focus strongly on the relevance of SGA, as everyone has probably heard if you've seen it on our Facebook or on our platform or heard us talk about anything. We're always talking about how SGA seems to be less important to the students. It seems like the students don't care, they don't come around, they don't know what SGA does or what it is, and it seems like that it's really lacking involvement from the students. And I think that's pretty evident from everybody. And I think the best way to go about fixing that is to go to the students and bring them to SGA. It's kind of bring the message to them rather than wait for them to come get it. That's something I kind of learned through Greek life and recruitment is you can't just tell people to come and expect them to show up, even if it's important to them. You have to kind of convince them, bring them, actually bring them, or give them a good reason to come, something that makes it a little easier for them to handle. I guess another main platform we want to do is reforming the internal structure of SGA.
That's kind of focused on the committees and what committees do. Committees really kind of push what SGA does. I know through my involvements in groups on campus and off campus, committees are kind of the backbone of where most of the work is done. So we want to push the committees to make goals and keep themselves accountable as the semester goes on. And as vice president, I'd be overseeing the committees like the current one does. And just kind of focus on making sure that the goals are being met, kind of having also development meetings for the committee chairs, and make sure that they know how to reach the goals that they're setting. I know I sit down with committee chairs and set goals before the committees meet, and then once the committees meet, to kind of make sure that they make their goals as well, and together we work to really work for the students, and not just kind of for the purpose of having work. It's something we're trying to get away from.
And then finally, we want to work towards academics. That's something clearly we're all students, we all understand, and a lot of it's already being done in SGA. It's really nice to see those kinds of things where people are working towards online major and minor signing improving the audit system that we have right now, which is kind of a mess if you ever try to plan an audit, schedule one. And then there's a few other things that we list through in our platform document that you can read on Facebook. And essentially, those are our 3 main ideas that we would like to get across, and among other things here and there. But those are the 3 big ones we want to stay focused on. Anyone have anything they want to discuss, any questions or anything like that? Thought so. Yeah, Justin?
On your first point, I just want to know what concrete plans do you actually have? I mean, I know you have this platform, and obviously, I think they're really good ideas. You want to increase relevance, you want to go to the students. I know Anna and I have shared, very concrete plans to make that happen, and I want to know, how do you plan to take advantage of SGA to actually do that?
I guess the number 1 thing would be to have, I'd want to form something within the e-council where throughout the semester, someone from the e-council, one person, it would divvy it out to everyone, would be able to get to the each RSO and speak if they wanted it. So that we would contact the RSOs and let them know, if you want someone from the e-council to come in and talk about SGA, what it does, what it can do for them, and kind of explain the importance of it to the students, in their terms. And that would be something to kind of push, is have them go to the RSOs and talk to them.
There's actually already an email that was position that does that.
Well, that's good, but apparently it's not seeming to be enough because it's not actually happening. And furthermore from that, it would be like to hold office hours outside of the office, which is something I talked to someone about. There would still be the office hours in the office, obviously, because you need to be there when you need to be there and get work done. But there would also be extra office hours where they hold little positions, tables outside the UC or something, or in the towers or EHS building, somewhere where there's a lot of foot traffic, things like that. Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
Generally, and even over the past couple of years, it's a trend that committee chairs are very involved and they have a lot of experience in SGA. I'm curious how you are going to foster their growth and their goals when admittedly you have very little experience with SGA.
Well, I think being a leader doesn't keep you off like one organization. A lot of that is coming from being leaders in other organizations. I have gone through, I've been a part of many committees through my past 3.5 years, and I'm going to go from that, like what I've learned, what's done well on committees, what hasn't. It's nice to see them. You said they're like already leaders, so kind of make sure that they are pushing themselves. Certainly focus on what the committee needs, and not every committee works the same. So kind of reassessing what the committee is doing and where they want to go, and just make sure that the direction is in the right area. Does that answer the question?
How do you plan on doing that? I mean, like, how do you see yourself as a leader? Are you going to just hold people more accountable? Like what?
I mean, like myself, I see myself as a very personal leader who likes to make sure that you're sticking to what you say. I like to get down and kind of figure out what a group's about, and then are they going with that or are they not? With committees, kind of like, there are so many committees that each one does different things. I know personally, like I want to get joint surgeons for housing. That's something that I want to push. So kind of contact the diversity committee. I know that's something that they've worked with before. I know that.
I'll actually update you on that when you're done talking.
Well, because we also met with some people who wrote the proposition for gender neutral housing, and it hasn't passed. And they want to put it on the site, but they haven't. It's been passed for multiple years. And we want to push the committee to make sure it happens because even though Res Life says it's going to be on there, just make sure it does get on there and that they're holding accountable.
With gender neutral housing, I don't know who you spoke to. I authored the proposal last year. It passed through SGA. We do have 3 students currently using gender neutral housing. And I know part of what the diversity committee is doing is streamlining that so that while you're on the housing website, you have the ability to choose that. It's not a case-by-case basis. Aside from that, I authored more additions to the housing application. I authored one that said, are you an ally of the LGBT community? I passed that through the House and Senate, gave it to RHA, and was told that it's actually not RHA's place to make that decision. It's the Director of Residence Life, it's those individuals. And they were apprehensive. They wouldn't do it. So I guess my question would be, how would you ensure that that can happen? How will you push forward the gender neutral housing policy that we fostered in SG already?
Well, we actually discussed it with the person who did the proposal for Residence Life. They pushed it up to Residence Life to the Director of Residence Life. And it was, I believe, 3 years ago when she first proposed it, and it was told that it was too radical. It was too much change too quickly. And like I read through the proposal, and there were a lot of things that made a lot of sense, and a lot of schools across the nation are doing very similar things. So I talked to her a little bit more about the idea that I had where they would add like a little checkbox that says, I'm comfortable living with someone in the LGBTQ community, something like that. That doesn't, out anyone or anything like that. It just says I'm comfortable with it. And she also said, yeah, that was something that was talked about, and they discussed it, and it was actually said that it would happen. But that was 2 years ago now, and it still hasn't happened. So I guess it's really important just to work towards those kinds of things. And the biggest idea would be to spread the knowledge throughout the student body to actually get them concerned about it. So, like, get people talking about things. Like the recent thing with Kelly that has happened, the best part is that people are worried about it. They're concerned about it. They're like, it's being brought to their attention. And I think that would be something we'd have to push strongly is the PR aspect.
And to add to your push with relevancy, when I campaigned, I ran on the fact that SGA was almost wholly irrelevant. I mean, our house was squandering. We had less than 70 people at most meetings. We got down to 40 at some meetings. And I did run on that SGA was irrelevant to students. At this point, I don't think it is irrelevant anymore. And I'd like to see, when you speak the debate, when you both speak the debates, focus on what you're going to do with SGA to make it more relevant. Not necessarily holding office hours outside of your office or speaking at every RSO, because I've done that. I've gone to probably 50 RSOs in the fall semester. But you need to give people a reason to come to your organization by doing something with your organization's power, whether it's acting on this legislation that you pass, things like that. I don't want to say that it's worthless to hold office hours outside of the office or sit at a table, but sitting at a table and giving someone a flyer and saying this is what we do, it's probably not going to help, because a lot of the students that you interview, they've probably seen us at tables. They've probably heard us speak. They've probably been in the RSOs that we've spoken to. It's the issue that right now, in my administration, we pass a lot of things that we say and that we feel, but it's not necessarily always taking action on that.
I guess like to respond to that is, it's not essentially that we're seeing SGA as something that's completely irrelevant as what it is, but the SGA gets the power from the students. Since it's a governing body of the students, they receive power from the students. But as soon as it stops representing the students don't know what's going on, they don't care, then it loses all power. So there's no power to use to increase the relevance. So you have to kind of take a step back in order to take a leap forward.
I was never able to ask my rebuttal, but my question is how you are going to lead people who ultimately know more about the organization they are involved in than those who are potentially going to be running that organization.
Essentially, we're going to take our leadership experience from the other things we've done around campus. Instead of seeing SGA as something where like people get involved when they're freshmen as an SGA rep and then you move up the ranks over and over, we're kind of taking it from the approach that we've explored other areas of campus, other organizations, other groups, other things that have done great things on campus, and we're going to bring what we've learned from those and we want to bring it into SGA. And of course, it's not going to be something where we come in and completely change the entire everything. Like we're still relying on a lot of people within SGA to help build up the organization, and that's something that's important. It's just that we're trying to bring in leadership aspects from other areas of campus that we haven't seen, and we would like to increase the things that we've seen within SGA, and still use the people that have been in SGA to help boost it up.
Yeah. History within an organization is great. And that's something that Kevin and I know that it's not our strong suit, but we want to use the e-council to help us with that. I mean, we know that we will point to most of the e-council, so by using their history and our, ideas, we can hopefully make a stronger SGA.
Right, but the issue is you shouldn't be relying and leaning on your e-council to run the organization for you. I've heard both of you say that SGA and Academic Senate are the same thing, that yes, it's in your interview, but that's not.
It was the question that Clayton asked, actually.
I've heard you say that the vice president oversees the Senate, which is not true, it's not the position. And I've also heard that you are planning to meet with committee chairs 3 times a semester when they have meetings weekly with the vice president.
Right, we actually discussed the meeting thing with someone about that. It was like a misunderstanding. We still plan on having the weekly meetings, clearly. It was that there would be a more specific goal-setting meeting at those times to establish these specific goals and get them in writing, essentially, so they have something to work towards. And those would be 3 progressive meetings throughout the semester. And that would be put out to the public so the students would know what each committee is working on, when they're working on it, and how they plan on, what progress they're making, how they plan on achieving the goals. Regards to the other things, I don't recall saying them. I understand that it's possible, yeah, and in any way it could be misunderstood, but I don't remember exactly saying those things. I guess I don't think that the SGA president oversees the Senate, or that the Academic Senate and the SGA is the same thing. Because I've talked to Vince about the Academic Senate, and I understand, I believe it's the SGA president and 6 other students, or 9 other students, 5 other students, so 6 total that get to go to the Academic Senate and kind of discuss things that are going on from the student's perspective. What?
I said my time.
Right.
Now, a lot of the criticism leveled at your ticket is that you don't have the experience in the Student Government Association. Would you say this is necessarily a bad thing, since the body's pretty much slid into obscurity over the last few years?
I guess that kind of pushes the idea of our ticket, is that we've seen SGA. We actually, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the video where we go around asking people if they know what SGA stands for, which is something that I thought was pretty obvious, I guess. And the majority of the people had no idea. So I let them know. I told them what it stood for and asked them if they knew what it did or anything, if they've heard anything about it on campus. and we didn't find one person who actually did know what they did or what they stood for. And these were just random students. We were standing outside the library or in the Towers lobby, random students that we would ask. One of them, even an RA, had no idea what it did. And I think the problem there lies in the fact that there's not enough of the right kind of involvement with the students. There's not enough, like SGA is doing these things, passing these legislations, the resolutions and stuff that are supposed to represent the students, but the students have no idea what's happening. The students don't know what's going on. They don't have a say in it. I don't remember the last time we've been in an organization where the SGA rep brought it back to the RSO to have a vote so they could vote on it in the next meeting in SGA. And I feel like a lot of these things are lacking and they're just not achieving what they hope to.
Follow up with that. A lot of what you're saying does have to do with the representatives and not relaying that information back to our RSOs, which would involve a large group of the student body. Seeing that as an issue, what do you plan to do with the representatives to make sure that they're fulfilling their positions so that way SGA is well known and students do take advantage of it?
I think with that would be something that would be where the e-council goes into all the RSOs and talks to them is kind of to discuss what it does. So everyone that when they vote for an SGA rep, they actually understand what they're voting on. Because a lot of times I've seen RSOs where the SGA rep is a throwaway position. It's something like, who has Mondays free and can go to this meeting? And I've seen that, and that's a tragedy because then no one even understands what they're voting for that person. They don't know what is going on or why it matters. And then the report every week is just, oh, this happened, it's nothing important. So essentially it would be to go to the students to kind of explain to them how important it is. And through that, hopefully people would get talking about it and discussing it, and it would spread quickly.
I guess, I don't know really how to put this, but I guess I'm just kind of missing the huge relevant point and asking random people around campus what SGA stands for, because that's not how I got involved in SGA. I didn't have some random guy come to me and say, do you know what SGA is? It's because I wanted to. And like we've been saying, we want a house that's going to want to do something for student government. Those people that don't know student government probably don't care. Like those people, the students that don't go to class, they don't even care about academics, and we don't want those people in student government. And I know I've gotten emails from plenty of you guys asking me to come to my RSO and talking to my RSO, not just our e-board, and saying, hey, do you want these people to come in? Even they're kind of like, this is our time, we're not going to care anyways. The people that want to vote are the ones that are going to vote. So I mean, yes, you're getting your word out, but I just don't, I guess I don't see the relevance in people that don't want to be in SGA, they won't be. They're not interested, they're not going to show an interest as someone saying, hey, you know who we are.
The main idea for that wasn't to actually get people interested, it was just to show the fact that people don't know what it is.
Okay.
It was to kind of emphasize that, rather than actually explain that. Later, we would explain what it is and everything when we go to the RSOs and talk to them about those kinds of things, and also have the tables were in front of the UC. And with those, it wouldn't be us just sitting there handing out flyers. I've learned through many things, people don't pick up flyers, they don't want to talk, they don't want to approach people awkwardly. You have to literally approach them. You have to be very salesman-like about it. You have to sell your organization or what you're trying to get them involved with. So that would be kind of something we would do for that. Yes?
Just to say something about that, I had no idea what SGA did or was, and I went to class. I just had nobody to inform me what it was. Like,
Sure.
I go to class, I feel like I'm involved around campus, but I just had nobody to inform me. And I feel like having somebody just to come talk and inform people would make people want to learn more about it or would spread awareness. And I feel like they would.
Right. No, I didn't mean to say it's not going to make any difference at all.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it that way. I know there are people like that, but like that's how I got involved in my RSO.
Yeah.
But I've noticed like me going around to class and saying, hey, this is what our RSO about. We'll see maybe 4 people join. I'm not saying like you're not doing anything. I'm just clarified.
We don't expect numbers to like jump drastically. I mean,
Sure.
you know, we don't expect to see everyone on the student campus, you know, wanting to go to SGA. We think that numbers will increase, and just people who there will want to be there. I mean, it was great to see that numbers still higher. Now that it's not always that aspect of funding, can get through different ways. But I mean, we don't expect people to be there, the numbers to jump. We just want to make sure that people are there for the right reason.
And if someone does have an issue, we want them to know where to go, where they can go, what people they can go to talk to about it.
You said that you didn't want to like reform or restructure e-council and SGA. Like, what specific ways do you want to do that? Didn't you say that in the beginning?
Yeah, like the internal reform kind of thing.
Yeah, what do you want to do with that specifically?
I mean, reasons for the committees. Are they doing stuff for the students, or are they just not having work because they're a standing committee and they need to have work? So truly, getting in there and watching them, listening to the reports. I mean, sometimes it sounds like that the work that they're doing is kind of just so SGA is doing work and that they have a purpose to be a committee. So really making sure that the committees are doing stuff for students is one thing I really want to look at. Because I think committees can be great. I think that's where you get all the work done for the majority of the work done for SGA. And just focusing on that is probably one thing I really want to push as vice president.
Yeah, I agree.
Going back on what she was saying, it's not that people don't go to class or don't care about secret, like, gossip things, but just things. I have friends on CM Life that I'm a freshman and I was an RHA rep. I heard about SGA, I had no idea what it was. I'm now president of my hall council and I knew what SGA was, but I didn't know what they could do for us. And now that I have a voice and I can see that, like, it actually matters to me. I see people now that didn't know about SGA, but actually do care now because of it. It's the awareness that is more important about it. Like, because you don't know about it, that's why you don't care. The more awareness that we get about it and the more you talk to people, that's how you can start to make a difference. And them reaching out, and I was there at the interviews when we were doing it at the towers, and there was an RA that didn't know what SGA was and what they did. They knew about SGA, but they didn't know that they could actually help and make a difference. So it's not that people don't go to class and don't care about Central or like what the student body has to say. It's that they don't know, and the awareness of that is what's helping.
I think it's really important to like kind of make sure people know what it does for them basically, because a lot of people hear about SGA and they realize that yeah, it's this, you know, they know what it stands for, but they don't understand how it can help them in any way. And unfortunately, a lot of people are selfish, and people do want to know why it concerns them, and we kind of have to show them that it does, it can, and it does matter.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that we have visited so many RSOs, we posted numerous forums. I mean, the fact that people didn't know, it is part of your civic responsibility as a student to find organizations that you have interest in. And I support you going to students and meeting with them, trying to tell them what SGA is, but I still just want to reiterate that going another step forward with that and not just telling people what it is, but doing things that are covered by CM Life that get people interested. And that's another thing that confused me. We've been in CM Life almost every day. So the fact that students still don't necessarily know what SGA is does really concern me. If you can find a way to address that by doing more than just telling people what SGA is, because that's not,
Right.
it's really not going to change anything. I don't mean to sound criticizing of what you've done, but it's really not.
I think going off that, I have noticed there's actually a lack of people who care about what CM Life talks about too. And I've actually noticed people when there were things in about SGA that I was like talking about, and I would bring it up to people, and people were like, I didn't read that. Like, I didn't read CM Life today, or I don't read CM Life, I skipped the SGA, which happens a lot because people just don't care and they don't see why it's relevant. And I think that's something that you can't really rely on CM Life as much anymore because a lot of people aren't reading it as often. I think it's a bigger focus to go towards the CM Life webpage, like the internet, which is really important. And posting that like on your wall and Facebook and using social networking sites where people might actually respond. And I think to kind of help increase the relevance, we'll bring in something new because we're coming from all these other areas of campus. Like if I became SGA president, people in all my other RSOs who know me would be like, well, what is that? And they'd be interested because they're interested in me. They genuinely care about me. Right. And spreading that to a larger number of people would at least help out the involvement. Even if it's just a little bit, it'll increase it.
I see where you're coming from. When I ran for president, I was an SGA for a semester. I was an SGA my freshman year for a semester as well. But it is having that background understanding of the organization that does help you move forward with it. But I came from 5 or 6 RSOs, not necessarily SGA when I ran for president. But I do recognize the importance of understanding the organization, understanding what has been done, what didn't work. I mean, that was a big benefit for me when I was with the previous administration. I got to see the things that didn't work, why they lost so many members, why people weren't coming to SGA. I mean, at the first meeting that I took over, I think we had maybe 20 people there. So it is, like I said, taking the step forward. We did send all of our information out through UCOM. I'm sure all of you received emails from SGA starting in September with our press updates because we're not relying on CM Life anymore.
I think we get a big benefit actually, like with you, your organization, your administration kind of making it so the elections are a lot earlier. So I think whoever wins gets the extreme benefit of having you there for the rest of the year to kind of help transition into a new thing because you still care about the organization and you want to see it grow. So I think that's something that'll definitely help out in this situation and kind of gives it so SGA can kind of take a new turn. This is the opportunity to take a turn, is because there are people that are so willing and so passionate to help encourage the growth. Yeah.
What is your plan on how to market SGA so people are more, they want to learn about it and they want to be involved?
I guess essentially we're focused on, like, I think like a salesman always. It's not just, you know, what can I give you, but it's also what can you get, what can I get out of it. It's kind of a mutual relationship where we both get something. So using that idea, we can kind of show people what SGA can do for them. We can show them that we can be the power of the students. Like, we can have this extraordinary power, like, against the administration. So if students want something, they can get it because they have the backing of the entire student body. And I think showing people that if this is the organization of the students, like this is where students all get involved at the same time and can push for things that they want to see changed. I think showing them that will get them more interested and make them want to know what's going on and kind of help make change. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you had to say about SGA relevance. I know me and I have talked a lot about it as well, about how to make it more relevant. But what I want to know too is then, so you focus on SGA relevance, you get a ton of people there, you get people knowing about it, but what are you going to do with it? You know what I mean? Like, what big projects do you want to work on? I know Vince has done things like get the extended library hours, we've worked on gender neutral housing, like that's all good. But what big projects do you want to work on? So it sort of reflects back on the senior community that, hey, not only are we relevant, or you know about us, but this is what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's gender neutral housing. I don't think it's a problem that's been solved yet. I don't think we're completely done with gender neutral housing. That's always going to be a push.
Okay, well then what new do you have?
Other things like that, like a lot of people talk about the online major minor signing. We'll make sure those kinds of things follow through.
Okay, but what's new? Because we already have people working on that.
Other new things we have had planned, we're considering, I guess, like the SOS form. I think you mentioned that too.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, I'm just saying because Michelle Van Hale is the academic affairs committee chair, I believe, and she's got. I mean, it's a matter of time, basically. Yeah.
In all honesty, we could it's gonna take most of the years to get the relevancy thing up there. If we can get everyone there by the end of the year, that's gonna set up the next administration for a very strong term. And we don't see ourselves as what can we do in this year. We want to set ourselves what can we do with SGA years from now. We want to set the foundation so it can be a strong organization 10, 12 years down the road. And if that's a hard year for us, we're okay with that as long as the next couple of years will be stronger for the future.
And
So you
most,
don't have any specific
well, most
projects.
importantly with that, we're not here to push our own agenda. We're not here to do things that
Right.
we think are most important.
Right.
It would be most important to go out to the RSOs. And as we're talking to them, we're going to be asking them, what is something you want changed? What is something you need to see? Because it's not, SGA doesn't just do what I want. It does what the students want. And that's important to go out there and find out. And I think us having all these connections with other students is the best way. People, when they have some issue, they'll come to me and be like, hey, shouldn't you be able to change this? And that'll be the way to finally hear what's going on and kind of get
Have you
that
heard
across.
any? I mean, have you heard anything from other
I've
artists?
talked to some things, but I want to make sure that it's the voice of the students rather than just individuals. So it'd be something to have people take polls, have surveys, kind of understand the student body as best we can.
And we want to use things like these where we want to more of a conversation where we can ask people who are in the audience what they want to see with SGA. We have what we want to do with what do they want to see. Because really, if we're not doing what the students want, what are we doing as the representatives?
Right.
Go ahead.
Just as an idea, before I was elected and before my debate, I know you don't have time for this, but it's an idea. I did do a survey of the student body. I think I had maybe 400 people respond. It wasn't that many, but it was a large amount of people asking what they wanted to do. So that's something you guys could definitely do before you started if you were elected. That way you have solid projects to work on.
That's definitely the idea, is to find things that the students really want to see. And I think I've heard a lot of people talk about 24/7 lab because I was here back when Ron and we're open 24/7. And that isn't a huge stretch to make happen. I understand the library hours is very difficult because to keep the library open you need certain staff and a lot of different things. But I think a lab is something that's essentially one person watching over the lab all night, which is not that big of a deal. And it seems like it would be something easily pushed for. And that would be one thing we'd want to work towards.
Also, kind of working with the residential restaurants on campus to make sure they're more friendly to different dietary needs. So that's something that we've seen come and go, and they've offered a lot of promises, and they haven't really kept up on them. Just make sure that they know that students are aware of their promises, and what they say should be happening.
A couple things. First, I like the response where you say that you want to set a strong foundation. Because in my view, in looking at, say, the U.S. federal government, it's the job of the legislature to serve the voice of the people and thus push forward projects, whereas the job of the executive to just make sure it's seen through. So that being said, I really don't think it's that bad of a thing that you're not saying, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, because then you're just turning into a tyrant who is trying to dictate your own wishes through the voice of the people as opposed to the other way around, which is using the voice of the people to best represent campus. Now, that being said, I also think it's up to the organization to prove its worth. It's not the other way around. The student doesn't have to find out what's good about the organization. It's up to the organization to show students what is of worth in this organization. So that being said, how are you going to show it's of worth? Because I think it's a great organization. I think that most students would, but they just don't know. How do you show its worth?
I guess it's really important to tell them what it can do for them. I think a lot of people don't understand what SGA is supposed to do. They understand it's like a governing body where all the RSOs have to go and meet. But I don't think they understand that it's supposed to be the representation of the students. It's supposed to take into consideration everything they say and make it happen. It's supposed to kind of finally put all of them together, all of the students in one, like, I can't think of the right word, one good organization, I guess, that can finally take the power and send it to the administration, showing them that this is what we want. And I think instead of that, it's become something that passes a lot of resolutions and things like that that students don't care about, they aren't concerned about, like things that they matter and everything, but they're not exactly something that everyone's hearing about or everyone's trying to push for.
Right. The student news announcements, like those go straight to my trash. I filter it. I don't read it. Nobody does. It's another one of those emails that's like, I read it. That. Okay, so 1% slice reads them, but I can tell you that a huge majority do not read those.
And that's true. We are lucky that we have people who are interested in SGA and who do read those things and everything. But the problem isn't those people. Those people who do read those things and are concerned won't stop being concerned if it changes a little bit. They're going to keep being concerned in a new way. The thing is, we have to try to loop back around and get the people who got lost in translation. Anything else anyone wants to talk about?
Any concerns about campus?
I guess, I appreciate that you guys are holding a town hall thing like this, but I know that you said that, you want to get out to students. Are you going out to students, or are you just holding things like this where people come to you?
Well, we've actually done quite a few times where we go off the RSOs and talk to them. We're working on something right now, because we obviously know we can't go to every RSO. That would be impossible. And at the same time, we're involved in a lot of things, so we have to continue those involvements for the rest of the year. But we're working on something right now where we'll be able to get out to all of the, hopefully all of the RSOs that want to hear what we have to say, without actually having to attend every one of their meetings. But we do understand that attending the meetings is important, but we only have 2-3 weeks to do it. And that's something that is extremely hard to do.
Like, as you guys know, it's a very busy week trying to attend so many RSOs every night. Yeah, we understand that it's very tiring, so we are attending them as much as we can, and that's why we're trying to also do different avenues to reach them.
Yeah, because we understand that, a lot of them also don't want us to be there and talk very long because they have other things they want to do. We get that. Yes.
I know we spoke about all of what would be your duties, and we did speak about the strategic planning team. Did you come across any ideas that you could put forward in that team? Anything that you'd like to change within strategic planning from what happened throughout the transition?
I don't remember talking about this strategic planning. What was that again?
The strategic planning team is the board of deans as well as various directors of programs. I've been charged with basically the dissemination of that information as well as revamping the mission statement and other initiatives and priorities throughout the university. So do you have any ideas for the strategic planning team? That will occupy a large majority of your time, probably 5 to 7 hours of your week, because although you are the student body, you would be the student body president, you are a charter of the university, so this is something you have to maintain. Do you have any ideas for strategic planning, anything you'd like to take there?
I guess through that, since I'm not a part of that yet or anything, it'd have to be something that I'd have to find out, to learn about through the transition process. Like, talk to you about it, what they do, what they intend on doing, and also get your input on what you think is best. And kind of go with that and kind of see how it works. And throughout the year, it would be a lot of molding to make sure it's something that is efficient and works with what it's supposed to work. Yes?
As a resident assistant, to me, like, I don't even read my UConn stuff. I know that my residents, I put things on their doors and they don't read things. My question is, what kind of major advertising do you guys think you could supply that would get to the residents who aren't involved in RSOs and who don't really care one way or another, but the idea that you can get that message across that this is what it is and this is what it can be?
I think that would be, the big thing would be to go to the people and talk to them. That would be something that's really important. Another thing would be using outlets that haven't been used so far. Like, we've been trying to do a lot of things that have been out of the ordinary. Like, I'm sure a lot of you have seen our giant snowman out front of the library. Or kind of avenues like making this what is SGA thing and talking to people about it. Because that, like, we didn't really explain a lot of what SGA can do for them and things like that. We wanted people to hear about it and then, you know, kind of think, oh, so people didn't know what SGA was and kind of wonder about it. And that kind of stirs it up so then next time they hear something about SGA, they don't just throw it to the side like they would normally.
That's one point to remember, like Kim said earlier, kind of going out to them. I mean, like, you know, when we're sitting in the UC, walking up to them like, hey, what do you know about SGA? And make that personal connection with them so they have an idea of what SGA is and the face to it. So if they ever do have a concern, they can come to one of us or the other e-coms members.
I'm just curious because I haven't really followed you guys very much, but just wondering where you keep mentioning the other things you've been involved in that give you the leadership skills to run and to be student vice president, vice president. I'm just wondering what they are besides, I believe you mentioned Greek life and your committee involvement.
Well, I'm an RA in Cooke. I'm also in Phi Kappa and Greek life. Throughout the years, I've been in hall councils throughout the halls I've lived in. I'm also in SEPA. I am all Greek justice on the judicial board for the Greek system. I am a Michigan service scholar, and I'm a lunch buddy and for the volunteer center, and I'm a site leader for the alternative rates program. I think that's all of them.
I'm also an RA in Hall Council. I've been there for 2 years. I've been Hall Council president. I've been a member of RHA for 3 years. I've been on club running. This is my 4th year. I've held almost every e-board position in that club. I am part of National Resident Club NRHH, which is part of RHA. I am the communications coordinator / OTM chair. And this gives me the ability to go off campus and actually talk to other halls in the other campuses in the RHA, kind of figure out what they're doing, bring it back to our campus, and also going to conferences, kind of representing Central at the state, regional, and national level. I am a Dave Garcia facilitator.
Did we answer the question adequately? But I guess the main thing is a lot of those things we won't be doing next year because we're kind of shifting our focus. So, you know, I'm not going to be an RA. I'm not going to be a site leader. There's a bunch of other things I'm not going to be doing just to make sure I have enough time to handle the SGA politics, I guess.
And same with me. I don't plan, like in this position, I plan on trying to be an RA because I want to be able to focus in. I was like I said, like, you know, since I don't have the history in SGA, I really want to be able to devote myself so when stuff comes up, I can research it and find out what has happened in the past so I know what to do in the future.
Justin, you look like you're about to get
No, you're good. I like this. I think you guys are very ambitious. I mean, I appreciate it. I like there's so much competition. I think that's a good thing. I mean, you know,
hopefully we can push more than
I think we all have the same intent. We want to make SGA the best it can possibly be, and we may disagree a little bit about how to do that, but you know, I mean, I do appreciate it.
Well, I guess we thank you all for attending. If you have any other further questions, you can find us you can ask on our Facebook, send an email, anything that you have, and we'll be sure to answer it. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, I will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.